What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news with some very interesting people, plus a touch of what, Terence?
Good old humor, man.
Good old humor, man.
Wow.
Yeah, so this podcast really came out of nowhere. We didn't even know our guest was in Singapore. Or at least I didn't.
Yeah.
But-
I'm not usually religious or biblical,
Uh.
but this really is the return of the prodigal son. Right? Like Ronaldo coming back to Manchester United. That kind of feeling, right? Yeah.
That's true. That's true. And soon he's going to be reeved in red also, right? That's what the commentator said. Reeved in.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
That very poetic commentator.
Yeah. Reeved in red and white.
Reeved in red and white, yeah.
Yeah.
Because today in front of us, we have none other than Soh Rui Yong.
Yes.
Welcome back, man.
Hello, thank you very much.
I think the last time you came on this podcast was October 2021.
Yes, it's been 1.5 years.
1.5
really
years.
flew by, huh?
Flew
Yeah.
by, yeah. And I mean, the
I
latest...
think your mic, you gotta speak closer.
Okay.
Either pull it closer or speak closer. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the October 2021 you came, and the latest that we heard as recent as a few weeks ago was that you're going to be running for Singapore at the upcoming SEA Games.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, because I remember the last time when you came, you were about to embark on your studies for law. That you were going to still carry on running then, but holy shit, man, so much has happened.
Yeah. Can I just say that your Instagram post announcing that you're back is probably the shortest social media post I've seen from you. Usually I expect it to be a lot longer, but this one you just said we back, and then I'm like, okay, what are the details and all that? So actually, what is the big announcement to everybody that you are back for?
Well, I mean, I'm back for the Southeast Asian Games. As you guys rightly noted, it's been a while. I think the last time I ran for Singapore at these Southeast Asian Games was August 2017. So
Wow.
it's more than 5 years.
Yeah.
So then I wasn't selected for the one in 2019 or the postponed one from 2021 to last year. So I actually remember I was in London, I was listening to a podcast because someone sent it to me or I saw it online or something like that. I mean, I think you guys were discussing like what you guys thought of the non-selection. Harish said, "Oh, I think it's fucked up."
Yeah, I
thought
still
it
think
was
it's fucked
hilarious.
up,
Yeah.
So thanks for the support. But that being said, obviously it was a long process. I'm just without kicking up too much of the past, because that will mean that I'm not helping everyone to move on in a productive manner. I'm just glad that the SNOC was gracious enough to allow past differences to be set aside and give me the chance to come back and prove that I can represent Singapore in a more professional and better way than I have managed to do so before.
Wow, awesome. Yeah. So actually, that's the crux of it. That now you can represent. You're representing Singapore at the SEA Games again, right?
Yeah. And then with any luck, the Asian Games later in the year as well.
The Asian Games are later in the year as well.
September.
Because you qualified for the 10,000 already, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So that means you meet the
And
qualifying timing.
Yes.
But that means that there still needs to go through the process of the team being selected and proposed and approved.
That's correct. Yeah.
I see.
Wow, fantastic.
So the SEA Games you'll be running in the 5K and the 10K.
That's correct.
And marathon?
Well, because the marathon, so the selection is based on what you can run in that event in the qualifying window.
Yeah.
But the qualifying window started from last year's SEA Games. I think that was like May, and it closed a few months ago. So I didn't manage to run a marathon in that qualifying window.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just a matter of I was a bit injured towards the end of last year. Like I injured my hip in July. It didn't quite go away till earlier this year. So it was just not the situation where I was going to like rush and get ready for a marathon, especially with no guarantee that I'll even have been on the team.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I see,
so-
I see.
But it's not that you've stopped running in these years that you didn't participate in the SEA Games, right? You
No,
still
yeah.
compete a lot. I've seen pictures of you, running in London, wearing like full. What do you call it? What is stuff that you wear in winter when you go running? Is it called
Winter wear, is it?
Winter wear.
Yes, Terence, what you wear in winter,
Oh, in winter.
it's called winter wear.
Performance gear for winter performance gear. No, so you're still competing at a very high level with people internationally as well. But what is it a big thing about the SEA Games that you so makes you so keen to you're so happy that you are representing Singapore again at all?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to represent Singapore again, but I wouldn't say that it was a make or break of my life. Like, if I never got to represent Singapore again for the rest of my life, I'll still be very happy, like running and doing my thing. If anything, the forced break from representing Singapore allowed me to figure out a bit more about my motivations for running, allowed me to experiment a bit more with, my training rather than, rushing from SEA Games, because there's not a lot of time between SEA Games, man. It's like 2 years, and then like sometimes in between SEA Games you have Asian Games. So if you keep rushing to qualify for meets, then it's easy to get sucked into that cycle of like, SEA Games finish already, then you like have to qualify for the next big competition. So it's always like rush to get fit. And you don't really have time to experiment with new things if that's the cycle you get locked into.
Yeah.
So if anything, the last 4 or 5 years when I didn't have the pressure or I didn't have the expectation of qualifying for SEA Games or peaking for SEA Games, I just had all the time in the world I needed to, train when I was more motivated. When I was less motivated, dial it down and focus on other aspects of my life. That's why I ended up in law school. That's why I ended up applying for internships and figuring out what I want to do like beyond sports in the foreseeable future. But of course, I was still quite fortunate to be having the support that I had from corporate sponsors and stuff like that, because I think I was still a notable sports figure. And I had personal projects on my own, like the Pocari Sweat 2.4 kilometer run that has actually become an annual race now. So,
so is it confirmed annual race already?
Yeah.
It's become a thing, like everybody talks about it. Like
this year is actually going to be the 2.4 km Singapore National Championships. So we've gotten the approval from Singapore Athletics. So so what started as some challenge from myself to the commandos who were saying that sub 7 2.4 was very common at camps. I think it's so easy, come and do, and that small thing became now what is today the Singapore National Championships. So the first edition will be it's like the Pocari Sweat 2.4 km National Championships is going to be in September this year. Just before the Asian Games.
So so you got approved by the Singapore Athletics, and it's a recognized event now.
Yes, I mean it was always a recognized event,
yeah,
but now it's officially like the National Championships.
The National Championships.
But if anyone was thinking about like, so what's the big deal? It's just another event. I think remember that time when it was announced, I think you took it on yourself to really find very interesting ways to market it, including running and getting sponsors like chicken rice sponsors.
Yeah.
Like if you managed to beat Rui Yong's time, I think you would win 600 packs.
700 packs. 700 packs. That's what Terrence remember.
Yeah. No, admittedly at that point I was like, what is this? Like running and then after that go and eat 600 packs of chicken rice.
700. Yeah.
But now in that spirit, it's become almost like the most Singaporean thing ever. A Singaporean race, a Singaporean distance that everybody's familiar with. Yeah. And the reward was like chicken rice, which is our favorite dish. So, in the end, I came around and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. The fact that you got all these very disparate elements together and then made something of it. And then now it's like almost like a real race that, people like, 2.4, I'm going to trade for that.
Is one of the prizes still 700 packs of chicken rice?
I need to contact Daniel, who is the owner of the chicken rice company. I need to speak to him. He was actually an incident. I actually spoke to him last year, but he had an incident where he had a business dispute. One of his clients paid to the wrong account or something like that, and then he was trying to claw the money back. So he wasn't in a good financial space to come and deal with sponsorship. But like, I'll check in with him. It was actually public. I thought I saw something online that he may have gone public with that. Yeah, but Daniel's he was very supportive of the first edition. That's okay. So here's the interesting thing. So the first year of the Pocari Sweat 2.4K challenge, right, there was pretty much zero corporate oversight by Pocari. It was just like me. Just me and my social media platform that's beating the drum on the race, which is why I believe that it was something unique, something that was. No, it wasn't boring, because when corporates get too involved, everything becomes very cookie cutter, very safe, very tame, because corporations would rather not do something new and lower the risk rather than take a big gamble and risk it blowing up into a bad PR. Yeah. So, but I mean, that's just the nature of corporate, especially corporate Singapore. So that's why if you look at all the other races in the market, they're all pretty much cookie cutter, all the same. And Singapore is quite small, so every other road race is around the Marina Barrage. It's quite there's a Hello Kitty run. There's this run, NTUC income run.
Yeah.
There are different names for all these races, but it's pretty much the same similar stuff. Maybe the price is a bit different or whatever.
There's probably a sizable number of people who, maybe not even from Singapore, who listen to this, and they might be wondering what's the big deal about running 2.4 km, right? For Singaporeans, it's since young, whether it's our physical fitness test in school and then army, 2.4 km was like the distance that you had to run, and it was always measured against other people in terms to determine your fitness, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, for you, what's your 2.4 time? Your fastest?
The fastest was about 8:56.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I think mine was like 10-ish. That was my fastest time in history.
And I will say, with the moment I broke 9, right, I was like, fuck yeah, man. I'm sub 9, bro. Hey, you sub 9 or not? You're not sub 9.
Yeah. So there's this whole like bravado about it, right? So that's why it was quite funny to see it become like a thing, like people trying to beat the sub 7-minute thing. But I've always been curious because over the years my 2.4 time has stretched from 10 minutes to like closer to like 16 or 18 minutes, right? What in the mind of like an elite athlete, 2.4 for you, does it feel like it's like just a short sprint? Does it feel like just a short sprint for you? Like what is in your mind when you're like, okay, I'm about to run 2,400 meters?
It's not a short sprint. It feels like a long sprint. It feels because if you're running at your max effort, you're actually hurting quite bad. Like even halfway through or like 4 laps, and then you still have like 2 laps left to run.
Yeah. So it can be, it's painful.
Yeah, it's painful. Of course, it's painful.
Okay. Like what? Like your heart beating, or is your feet?
Your heart is beating through your chest. Your legs are full of lactic acid. Because you're running at your lactate threshold, or which means that you're consuming oxygen faster than your body can clear it.
Okay.
If you want to run at your best, so it's about like pacing yourself, making sure that you can hold a steady pace all the way to the end. But anyway, so the point I was making was that the first year there was no corporate oversight, but because it became such a big thing, it's like over 1 million people reached on social media alone. The second year, I think corporate saw the potential, like Pocari Sweat, corporate saw the potential in it, but they also saw the potential risk, so they were a lot more involved, which meant that I wasn't able to, a lot of my ideas that I proposed to the team, like they were either watered down or like sometimes not even used, completely not used at all. So, but I mean, for me, it's also like, I was just the event, like after the first year, I became appointed as the event consultant. So I was just a consultant, which means that you give your views, you can propose ideas, make PowerPoint slides and whatever, but end of the day,
they will make the call.
Yeah, they'll make the call. So at that point, I was also like, okay, I'll let them make the call and then we'll see the end result. And as it happened, the second year didn't have as much excitement as the first time. I think the first time was also a novelty. Second time it was also like people kind of know what to expect. And some of the new ideas I was proposing weren't really carried out. So I think that they felt the pinch in terms of like, the event, the second year wasn't quite as successful in terms of outreach compared to the first year. So this is the third year. I think they're a bit more open to potential ideas. But again, because it's become like a corporate event now, they're having to manage, both my ideas that like without divulging too much, because it's also something we want to keep as a surprise.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's balancing that together with what could be potentially the risk involved. Yeah.
I see. So like, are you like will you be presenting the prizes and all, like
Yeah, I would like to. Yeah. So I'll be sourcing for some potential sponsors. If there are any interesting prizes that people have out there that they'll be happy to be a part of, they can come on board as a sponsor. Yeah, so that's...
But you'll be running, definitely.
Yes, I'll be running. In fact, ideally, I'll be back to race the Pocari Sweat 2.4 km national champs, and then after I go to Asian Games like 2 weeks later.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
that is cool, man.
Wow.
Yeah,
would that make a difference would that affect your training, having to run that 2.4?
So the fun thing about 2.4 is that it's not long enough to be that damaging. So
Okay.
So you can recover after a couple
so
of
when
days.
you say that damaging also, because I always wonder, like I've heard people talk about when you run a long run, it's damaging to the point that you need time to recover.
Yes.
In what way is it damaging? Is it the muscles have those micro tears beyond?
Correct.
Kind of like it needs significant time to recover as opposed to a 2.4.
Correct. Micro tears, but also like when you're running a marathon, let's say 42 kilometers, you're already depleting your body of all your hydration, your electrolytes.
Yeah.
It goes to an extremely fatigued state, and you're working extremely hard for, anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours to 5 hours, depending on how fast you run the marathon.
Yeah.
So exerting your body even for myself, exerting my body for 2 hours and 20 minutes is very different from exerting your body for like less than 7 minutes.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, less than 7 minutes.
7 minutes for you, but like 15 for most other people.
Which will still be a lot shorter than 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah,
So that means it's depleted to the point that it can't even recover in a few days.
After a marathon, like the science suggests that you should take 2 weeks completely off from physical activity, and then another 2 weeks of very easy physical activity before you go back into hard training. So it takes like a month.
Oh, I see. And how much do you delve into the science of like long distance running?
I'm not as scientific in my approach compared to many professional athletes. I'm still relatively go by feel, old school, but I do read up on scientific advancements in training methods and try and like apply them where it makes sense.
I see.
Yeah.
So this year you're 31 years old, right?
I'm 32 in October.
32.
In August, actually.
Okay,
yeah.
got it. How is your body different now from the last time you competed at the SEA Games?
Well, 5 years older. I haven't really, touch wood, I haven't really felt the effects of aging yet, because I think I've been quite consistent with training. In fact, I got better every year. I'm a much better athlete now compared to the last time I competed at the SEA Games.
Oh, okay.
Now that being said, the last time I competed at the SEA Games, I did have good preparation for like 6 months prior to the SEA Games. I knew that I was going to be there. I trained for it. I peaked for it. And that's why I managed to do well. Whereas now, it's like, I only got confirmation of my participation like 6 weeks before. So like now I'm kind of on the accelerated get fit quick program. But it's not like I was coming from couch fitness. Like, I was active. It's just that I'm not going to have quite the same runway in terms of preparation time.
Because the past few years you have broken more records.
Yes. So the last time, very simple stat. Like the last time I competed at the SEA Games, I only had one national record. It was in the 10,000 meters.
Yeah.
Now I have 4 from like 5K, 10K, half marathon, and the 10,000 meter record has actually got a bit faster as well.
Which was the one you broke last year? The 10,000?
10,000, yeah.
I see. And that was the one that qualified you for the Asian Games?
Yes, exactly, yes.
I see. So how has the training been different in the UK now that you've been there for the past 2 years? 1.5?
1 year plus. I only got there in like February the 1st last year, effectively. So how is it different? I would say that sports is a lot more of a way of life in the UK. There's much greater participation. I think the weather helps. Like it's a lot more fun to do sports when you're not sweating buckets within the first 5 or 10 minutes. And also it's just more of a social culture. Like here, if I go for training, it's like very business or like very business minded. Very like, we're here to focus on training and then like go home. I also think that work-life balance is a bit better in the UK. So like when I train with my club in the UK called Clapham Chasers, I'm training with working adults. Like one of the best guy on my team is actually a partner at Deloitte. So he swings by after training. He trains hard. He goes home to his wife and kids. His name is Nick.
Trains to compete or just recreationally?
He started recreationally. So his name is Nick Bowker. He was a football player for like not professional, but he played in university. And then a bit of a party animal. And then like never picked up running until he met his wife. And then his wife was part of Clapham Chasers and kind of encouraged him to come down and do running. Then he found that he was quite good at it, and he's just been on the upward swing ever since. And last year in London Marathon, he set the club record, 2 hours 17 minutes.
Oh shit!
Wow, that's crazy.
That's 5 minutes faster than I've ever run. And he only started running in his 30s, and now he's 36.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Yeah. So that's just like natural talent.
He obviously has good sporting natural talent and I think that he wasn't sedentary also. Like he did play football. I think he was a centre back or something like that. Taller, muscular guy, but he's lost a lot of the upper body mass through long distance running. But he has got the competitive mindset. He's got a career as an accountant. He swings by after training and basically he has fun doing it.
And then, he runs a 2:17 marathon.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's Matt Dickinson who works at a hedge fund and has run 2:19.
Wow.
Yeah. Bit of a. He got the 80s rocker look, like, like long hair, mustache, and everything, and like, he comes for training, ties his hair in a bun, and then goes out and like smashes all of us, and then he runs like 2:19 for the marathon. So
Oh my god! And these people, so basically, they're not even competing professionally. They have no sponsorships, no nothing lah.
They might get free gear, but like but certainly you're right. They're more amateurs than definitely. The definition would be like they're amateur runners. Like they work a job, they swing by after their job, they train, and they train really hard. Yeah. But they're also, there's a lot of it is down to natural talent also. Like you can't do what, not everyone can do what they do.
Yeah.
Even if you have like the best support in the world. So some of it is genetics, but also it's a way of life. Like, they come, they do sports because it's a supportive community. We all go for races together. And one of my good friends on the club is Richard and Stuart. So like Richard and Stuart and I are the three. We're known as the three party guys lah. So like we finish running at the track, train until like 8:30, and then we'll jog to the train station. But sometimes we'll stop at the pub and have a drink for an hour and a half.
On the UK life, going to the pub,
and then we'll hop on the train and go home. So yeah. So I mean, I enjoy it. I definitely find that because none of my training partners here in Singapore are my drinking buddies. Like it's quite separate. Yeah. So like my drinking buddies would be those that don't really do sports and would not be sharing the track with me, and those who do my track work with me would not be the same people I go party with. Or socialize with very much. So there's just that. I find that there are more people who are like me in terms of like mindset or like lifestyle in the UK. Like compared to here.
Where running and your life is a lot more intertwined. Is it?
Yeah. So like running is part of your social life.
It's a social activity.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you think that helps with performance as well?
I mean, if you're drinking every day, then that's maybe not detrimental to the performance.
Maybe not the drinking part.
But I would say that having it as part of your social life is beneficial to performance in the sense that the more you enjoy it, the more likely you are to keep doing it. And the more you're having fun doing it, the less stressed you are about the performance aspect of it, which sometimes, like, psychology is a very complex field, but when the pressure is off, a lot of people tend to perform better. And a lot of us show up not because we are stressed about our performance and we want to train to get better, but because we enjoy the company. And then the good performance is a byproduct of everything.
So if I were to ask you, like, if just from your experience, why does that not happen in Singapore?
It's hard to tell. I think the fundamental answer is that we don't quite have a sports culture. It's not quite a way of life. We do it in school, but a lot of our kids and parents, they do sport because it's a way to DSA into a good school. It's not for the sake of doing it. It's always a means to an end.
Direct school admission.
Yes.
DSA.
I was wondering DSA. Okay. Direct school admission. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, why did you start playing hockey when you were in?
Because I took a test that told me that, okay, I have more inclination for hockey than other sports, which I initially was like, what the fuck, I don't want to play hockey. But then I started to enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but I will say also that you always have at the back of your mind, you do well in CCA, will help you get to a better JC, help you get to a better uni. But then I was thankful that I grew to love it. And some of my hockey friends still do play up till this year. But because of some injuries and all, I stopped. But yeah, it started off almost like, okay, this is what I do, but then I grew to love it, which I know doesn't happen for a lot of people.
Yeah. So even my mom, I think when she encouraged me to do sports, it was more like, hey, don't just have your studies alone, you must have something else for your portfolio kind of thing. So even though she enjoyed running, it was still initially a means to an end, but then I enjoyed running. It came to the point where I wanted to take running to the next level. I wanted to, I'm good at this. I want to like throw everything I have into this. I want to like, make it as a runner. And then that's when they're like, hey, actually, like, no need.
Yeah.
Typical Asian parents, like, no need, just focus on career, they kind of. So, I mean, again, I do believe that the sports culture is a lot stronger in the UK. That's why, I mean, look at UK sports is thriving. Like football. Sorry, it went off for like 1 second. But like, look at football. It's like a way of life. Whereas here, sports is seen by many parents as a distraction from your
Studies.
yeah. And if that attitude is inculcated in a kid from a young age,
Yeah.
there's no chance he's going to like pick up the sports later in life, like 25, 30 years old. It's not something like, oh, finish work already, okay, let's go and play sports. You know, we don't quite see that.
Now Singapore is like go for brunch.
Yeah.
Hey, Rui, I want to go for brunch.
Yeah.
Brunch. Wait, you mean
Or
what?
go for drinks.
The social, or like drinks or supper or something like that.
Yeah, it's very hard to jio adults to go and like play, even if there's a pickup game of basketball or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's quite different. I notice over there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But when you see those people in the club, like, you know, holding jobs as accountants or, you know, consultants or what, then they run for fun. Do you see yourself doing that, like possibly doing that longer term as well? I mean, now you're studying law and you know, professional degree and all.
I certainly want to, because I mean, running is something that for me helps me keep my life in balance, helps me keep my fitness. I always believe that if you are healthy, fit, it should help you be better in other aspects of life as well. You know, A, you fall sick less often. B, your mood, you're better, you're more productive.
Yeah.
You feel more confident about yourself. So yeah, I think there is a linear relationship between how fit and healthy you are and how confident you are in carrying yourself.
But would you be transitioning to, you know, there are a lot of people who from running at a younger age and they transition to other triathlons and Ironman and all these kind of other pursuits?
So for me, I always wondered why people do that, because it's like running as one sport is already very hard to train for. You don't have enough time. Then you want to train for 3. But I do think that Ironman has its own appeal. Like it's like a bucket list item for many people.
Okay.
Like for example,
Is it for you?
not at this point of time,
okay.
though. But like I've had a number of triathletes like encourage me to take on triathlon. But I don't think I'm a very competitive swimmer. And in Singapore, I do think training for the bike is quite dangerous, because our drivers hate bikers, you know.
Well, it's not just about the culture; it's literally our traffic.
You have to
that
train
gets
for
in the
4
way.
sports: swimming, running, cycling, and avoiding death. That's the next one to train. So what's on your bucket list?
Never really thought about it. I always wanted to learn surfing. Go to Hawaii.
Surfing. But any bucket list related to running, like any particular marathon that you're dying to run, or like any kind of race or something?
Personally, never lah. But I mean, before I retire, I should definitely try and like finish the 6 marathon. I mean, all these are very arbitrary goals, but you know, like I must do Boston. But all this is marketing lah. You know, like Boston Marathon is marketed as the oldest marathon in the world. You know, like it's Boston, Heartbreak Hill. They write articles about it. They show it on TV. So, I mean, yeah, people want to do it, but I also think there's a lot of it's a marketing gimmick, like, you know. There's so many marathons around the world, but why do people want to do these few? Is because it's marketed well.
I see.
Yeah, so I've never been one to be a sucker for marketing.
So you know, on the other side of what we were just talking about is the not say corporate life, but your alternative career, like your in parallel career, which is law, right? You started this degree in 2022.
I started in 2021 September, but I only went to London in 2022. Yeah.
Okay, and you have how many years left? 1.
I'll finish my exams for second year end of this month, and then assuming I pass everything, then 1 more year. Yeah.
Okay, and what is your specialization in, or what sort of area of law are you focusing on?
Well, in this summer, I'm going to be doing an internship in financial crime prevention at the financial firm StoneX. So,
wow,
something that you guys might have a bit of interest in, given the situation with the
Hook. She's a terrorist.
Yeah, she's a terrorist. So, I mean, hearing stories like that, observing how the world works, how corporations work. I've always had an interest in criminal law, but criminal law is quite a rough field, especially in the UK. Like the criminal barristers are going on strike because by the time you take their salary divided by number of hours they work, they're getting paid less than minimum wage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they're on strike. Also because when you represent criminals, that many of them they can't pay. Yeah. So a lot of lawyers who want more comfortable salaries, they go to corporate law side, which I think that it makes sense because when you work for companies, they tend to have more money to compensate for this kind of things.
Yeah.
But like for me, I've always corporate law. it's not something I could foresee myself doing every day for the rest of my life. Yeah, maybe to earn money for a while, doable, but I also know many people who are in it just for the money and then they don't actually really enjoy what they do.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I interviewed for this position in financial crime prevention, like speaking to the interviewers, going through the process, I felt that it was quite interesting. Anti-money laundering, suspicious transactions, stuff like that. Something that I would have an interest in.
And that's always been when you said always been an interest in criminal laws. But this one you came to get interested in it while studying or during the interview process, or
while studying, while exploring options during interview process. Well, I also did realize that, in studying law, I mean, I always thought you study law, you naturally become a lawyer. I think most people would think that. But there are actually a lot of careers that value students who have a law degree, but may not want to go on and be a lawyer. For example, like consulting at one of the big like management consulting, one of the big firms like McKinsey, Bain, or BCG. They do look out for students who have a strong grounding in business or law. But because law students tend to have good critical thinking skills to get through like pages and pages of material, and like go through lots of historical case precedent and statutes in order to like form a cohesive argument. And I think that this is a skill that's quite valued even in careers not related to law. Yeah.
Has your studies in law, has it affected the way you think about running and sports?
It definitely helps me understand how decisions are made at a policy level. Yeah, because you study, separation of powers. You study like how parliament and executive and the judiciary have a relationship, or supposed to have separation of powers better in some countries than others. You can also like see how in some countries the executive and the judiciary don't quite have separation of powers, and that's when basically the government can do whatever it wants, which we see some examples of that around the world. So it was interesting.
So this is laying the groundwork for your run for becoming an MP. Oh,
well, that's also why if you look at the MPs, a lot of them have legal backgrounds.
But
so
do you enjoy when you read through all those legal documents, is there a part of you that's like, oh fuck this, or you actually enjoy dissecting it?
Well, there are some classes that are definitely more of interest than others. Because I've never been like so academically inclined until, like you said, like the case comes and you can't wait to
dive into it.
Dive into it. For me, I was always like in the first year I liked criminal law and contract law, and I always found like property law a bit more challenging and less interesting, at least for me. So like property, trust, all this have been a bit not quite my area of interest. Not that I won't go and study it, but like just harder to get a grasp on the concepts. Yeah. So and in law, there's just so many different types of law. But as a law student, you have to study everything, and then when you go work as a lawyer, you focus on one or two. So that's.
But did your decision to pursue law, was it also influenced by your own brushes with like the law in different ways?
Oh yeah, certainly, and encounter with some questionable lawyers who are running around in our Singapore legal industry, and it's quite risky, because you have seen some of these examples of ill-advised cases. For example, there was a man that tried to sue Tan Tock Seng Hospital for $800,000 for his mother's for death of his mother.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an ill-advised case. The lawyer that instigated the case is now currently serving a suspension. But this is just because the lawyer advised him to go take on the case. He lost, and now he's liable for $765,000 in legal costs to Tan Tock Seng.
Fuck.
Yeah. So, like, and I think that when these kind of things are reported, it's the client that's on the hook. The lawyer is not the one that is on the hook, even though the lawyer might be the one that's giving advice to do it. I mean, most clients would just trust the lawyer. There's very few clients would think they know better than the lawyer, especially in like circumstances like this. And the guy in the case, from what I remember, he wasn't very educated also.
I see.
So it's very, very bad and very, very damaging to society and to the legal industry to have, like trigger-happy lawyers like that running around. But there's a fair number of them in Singapore. So I think that's something that the Law Society should be concerned about. It seems like they are, because it seems like they're clamping down on all these clown lawyers running around. Yeah.
I mean, even last year, I remember the legal industry came into the mainstream consciousness when there was that test of like people who were cheating on the law exam,
Plagiarize,
Yes.
right?
plagiarizing.
Plagiarism, right?
I thought they were also
Yeah, during the exam.
during the exam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it plagiarism? I thought they were just cheating. They were like collaborating. I
is it?
mean,
I
I
think
guess
they
that,
got
that-
the questions
yeah.
beforehand or
Okay,
something.
okay.
Yeah.
I can't remember the details of it, but I do know that recently there was an article written by S. Chandra Mohan, who basically saying that to be a lawyer, you first have to be a good person, and he was like lamenting the rise in what was this cheating, the rise in cheating, or the rise in morality issues in the law industry nowadays. But I also don't know if more people are that fucked up now, or it's just that more people are being found out now, and it's just been there all
People
this
have
time.
been fucked up all the while.
Yeah.
I also agree. I also think people have been fucked up for so long. It's just more of it coming to light now.
Yeah, and then with social media, it's very easy for these things to go viral. Like, it can't be covered up. But
Yeah. But
so I think we mentioned like the last few years also were quite tough for you, right? In terms of not being able to represent Singapore and things like that. And then at the same time there was COVID, and at the same time you've embarked on, your chosen career path, right, to study law and all. Were there any thoughts in the last few years of like let's not pursue this running thing anymore, hanging up the boots, or just saying, what's the point of trying to fight the system, or were there any thoughts like that ran through your head the last couple of years?
Well, any thoughts that crossed my head of not running anymore will have been nothing to do with the system, because to me, I started running way before I represented Singapore. I could care less whether you ask me to represent Singapore or not. I'm still going to run because it's what I enjoy doing. And in a sense, running is an individual sport, so it's very easy for me to, if I really want to prove a point, it's very easy to prove a point. Like, if you choose a national team that doesn't include me, the next race I meet the national team in a local race or whatever, and I beat them, then, who looks dumb? It's not me, So that was never my concern. But what was my concern was that during the COVID period, all our lives were turned upside down, couldn't train for a while, no competition. So that was when it got a bit draining, in terms of motivation-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's how I was eventually when I decided to study law somewhere during that period, it was, I wasn't sure how long more I would be running. I wasn't sure whether the world, how soon the world will return to a normal state. Thank God it's pretty much returned to normal state now. But when I was kind of intermittently running, not very motivated, I did realize that, I just didn't feel right. Something was kind of missing in my life. And in 2021, when I resumed training at a consistent level, I found that, things fell into place a lot more easily. And I realized that, it's not that I can't survive without running, but while I can still keep getting better doing it, it does give me a fair amount of excitement, satisfaction, and opportunities as well. I don't think I would have met guys like yourselves if I wasn't who I managed to become through running. Stuff like that.
Do you see yourself competing in running for as long as possible, or you will always keep running, but the competitive part?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So for example, now I train 7 times a week.
Wow. 7 times a
maybe
week.
Sometimes 8 or 9 if I train twice a day on some days. So that's because I have the time and the energy to do so.
Yeah.
But maybe if you get older, maybe 3-5 years time, let's say I get married or take a very demanding job. For example, if let's say I got a very high paying job offer at a consultancy firm or a bank or a law firm, and they say, we're going to pay you £100,000 to start with us, but working hours will be 60-80 hours a week.
Yeah.
It'll be a bit hard to turn that down, because you don't know whether an offer like that is going to come again. So if you take up the offer, you have to be prepared that instead of running 7 times a week, maybe you can only run 5 or 4. And obviously, if you're putting in that amount of training, you're not going to have the same results as you were having 7 times a week. And so that will be the trade-off. I do think I'll keep running because everyone wants to exercise. It's not like you take a job and then you just go sedentary for the rest of your life, right? That's not healthy either.
Yeah.
So I do think that I would always like try and stay fit. I always keep in touch with the sport. But if I wasn't at the level where I can feel like I can respect my own performance, I probably wouldn't go for competitions and not where I'm not satisfied with my own level of fitness.
But
Yeah.
this is true. Like, because I've worked in finance both in the US and in Singapore, and people overseas, at least in the US, they respect your time out of work a lot more than they do in Singapore. In Singapore,
so you feel that?
oh well, for sure.
Yeah.
As in, they respect what you do outside of work, or they respect just the time
if
outside
they
of
know
work?
that you have some, a big hobby that you do outside of work, that maybe you even get you're representing your country, or it's something you get paid outside of work for. If you tell people, oh, I need to take some time off to do this, and all, they'll be okay, Whereas in Singapore, it's much more like, how do we cover for you while you're gone? And
Exactly.
they don't really.
Yeah.
It's really all about the work part, and then everything else you do is ECA lah. It's extracurricular thing.
Correct.
So does that affect you in terms of thinking where you want to live and work for the next few years of your life?
Spot on. Where do you mind me asking, which cities do you work in the US?
New York, yeah. Manhattan,
New York,
yeah.
okay. And New York is already quite competitive.
Already, yeah. But
you work in a bank, is it?
Yeah, the bank. And the place was just, New York itself is such a melting pot of different jobs.
Which bank did you work at?
A very small boutique bank called Evercore Partners.
You studied there?
Yeah, we both studied in the US, Philadelphia.
So that's where we met in
that's
uni.
how we met,
In UPenn?
Yeah,
Yes,
UPenn.
UPenn.
Oh, both of you went to UPenn.
Yeah,
Both of you
UPenn.
got Ivy League.
Proud
Ivy League, yeah.
proud alumni alongside Donald Trump, Jolo of 1MDB.
Elon Musk?
Oh, Elon Musk, lah. Ivanka Trump also very proud
Ivanka
alumni.
Trump.
Ah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah,
So then you guys worked there and then you came back together?
No, I was bonded because I was bonded to SIA because they sponsored my education.
Oh, so you worked at SIA and then you came out after
Yeah,
how many
yeah.
years?
I was at SIA for 2 years, at Scoot for 3 years. So my bond was 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was one of the few scholarships with a 4-year bond,
Nice.
which was
Nice.
great.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we didn't even study media or film or anything. I had no interest in media or anything.
Right.
But then we stumbled into it. Then we met because we were both part of Club Singapore.
Yeah, Singaporeans.
Because he was 2 years older than me.
Okay. What did you
Yeah.
guys study?
I studied finance and psychology.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I did mechanical engineering and entrepreneurship.
Nice. And then how many years did you work in New York?
2 years in New York. Yeah. But even like you, in university, I was doing internships in like California and things like that as well.
Nice.
And one time I did intern in a bank in Singapore. And that's where I, understood the culture in Singapore versus what the culture was
Yes.
in the US, whether it was East Coast or West Coast. Very different.
What was the working hours like?
in Singapore?
No. Well, we start with the US. New York.
Pretty much I'd be at work between 9:30 to 10 a.m. Every day.
Yes.
I would leave, the earliest would be 10 p.m.
Okay.
Oh my
Earliest. Like 10 p.m. is considered a great day.
Okay.
Yeah. Then dinner every day is in the office.
And that was
Okay.
investment banking.
Investment banking.
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
Analyst, like those 2 years.
But the pay is good, for these things.
The bonuses were very good. And this was like, the late 2000s already. So at that point in time, there was Lehman Brothers and all, but the bonuses were still, finance was still like seen as like, premium kind of job and all that.
Yes.
Now I'm not sure. I think now there's probably a bit more work-life balance and things like that. But it's still a very intense job that requires you to drop everything you're doing and come to the office.
Yes.
But that's it. During the months of summer, a lot of the partners and all, they go for long vacations.
Yeah.
So there's just less work to do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I love being in the office. I loved being in the office over Christmas because nobody will be around.
Yes.
And then you just come in, then
Relax.
there's lunch and everything, and just meet your friends, and you go home by like maybe 8 p.m. During Christmas period. Yeah.
And then what was your experience here when you were working in a bank here?
Here is just, we got no summer holiday, right, in Singapore.
Yeah.
So people are just, the same thing. They would work those hours till 10 p.m. and everything. But there was just, you ask people about, there's no talk about, your next holiday
No
or your
life
next
outside the
vacation.
office.
Yeah, or sometimes there was the occasional, let's go running
Yeah.
at like 9 p.m. Then we go and run Marina Bay, that area.
Yeah.
So, but it was still very much like, okay, we're done running. Let's go back to office and do more work until midnight and then,
Yes.
then go home. So that's the culture. So that's why I'm like, wow, how is it? How are you gonna, if you want to carry on running and all that?
Yeah, exactly.
How to balance that in Singapore?
Yeah. So I would say that, and this is a word of advice to anyone who's looking to balance a career and do sports at a high level. try not to do it in Singapore lah, because
It's just like one piece of advice. One piece of advice. Yeah.
I mean, whatever Terence said, I do identify with the. It's just the culture here, and it's almost like if you have too much going on outside the office. Let's say you are a good athlete or good influencer, and you spend a lot of time doing that kind of stuff. It's almost like people in the office think, hey, this guy has too much time, you know, like he has too much time. He's doing well and stuff, not ready to work. Actually, he can spend more time on work.
Yeah.
Because in my past jobs, I have heard people pass these kind of comments when I was like, hey, I was going to see games, I was winning medals, you know, or like I was getting out of the office and breaking records, national records, and like I think part of it might be jealousy. Singaporeans were quite competitive. It's from a young age. I think, you know, compare who has more marks, and you know, I think we do have a bit of that culture is deep seated and it's going to take a lot of time to change. But you know, my friend who is he's a lawyer now. He used to be a sprinter, and he's quite a good looking guy, influencer also. I mean, his name is Timothy lah.
Oh, okay.
No point trying to hide. I think so many clues really. But I did notice he toned down his social media, because he used to, you know, like, you know, handsome one, take all these like selfie videos and everything. And then I did notice he toned down. So I did ask him. I said, hey, like, since you started full-time work, like, tone down a bit already. He was like, yeah, you know, like, I don't want people to think that I got a lot of time outside the office to do all these things. So he said it's really about the image that you project.
Yeah.
Because he said people will get jealous and people will complain, and like office politics and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, man. I mean, like, you can't even be yourself on social media because you can't even have your own life properly and like showcase it, your own life outside the office, because people will think you're too free.
You can't celebrate your wins outside of work and all that. Much,
I remember one friend of mine who I went to JC with. He's he works in Singapore, in some way civil service, and he climbed Everest. He took a year off to climb Everest, and he came back. I was like, oh, so how, you know, your colleagues, are they like, oh, you climb Everest? He's like, no one cares. I was like, what? You climb Everest? He was like, yep. Nothing has changed. In fact, he set himself back.
Yeah, correct. By 1 year,
So I was like, are you fucking kidding me? But yeah, I was shocked by that. And I mean, for me, my limited time with SIA, that was early on. The hours were not crazy because it was a big corporate. With Scoot, we were just starting out. The hours were crazy, but because it was a small company, because my bosses there were very encouraging to having this outside life thing. When I did an ultra marathon, they even subsidized the fee a bit. I cut my hair in the shape of a yellow airplane. Then I told, okay, I'm going to do this, so can you all just subsidize a bit of it? Yeah, sure, because Scoot colors was yellow. Then I was like, oh fuck, this can actually happen. And of course now we run our own thing. But that was in the days of not even like smartphones so much. You know, now like the separation between work, I can imagine if you're working in a corporate, it never ends lah. Right? Like last time, at least early on 2009 when I started working, it's like you have a work laptop, but you don't have email on your phone lah, you know?
Yes.
Whereas now I can't imagine, I can imagine even being worse lah now. So yeah, that whole culture thing, like what you said about the recreational side of sport in the UK, I can imagine that lah.
Yeah. I mean, I genuinely feel that by taking part in cross-country races, and then we all go to the pub after, so like we have 50 of us representing the same club. We go into the mud. We wear our heart on our sleeve. We give it our all for the club. Try and win the cross country championship. And then after, we'll go and have drinks at the pub. Rather than go home right away, we all go. 50 of us all go have drinks at the pub. And the girls will race somewhere else and they come and join us as well. I do feel that it's a great place to network. I mean, if you're single, it's a good place to potentially meet, like a partner. But if you're also looking for a job, I mean, so I have teammates who, they are decent runners, and they work at McKinsey and McKinsey. One of them at McKinsey, like good positions, and because I'm quite a solid runner, like it does catch their eye, and I ever felt that if I wanted to work at one of these like good firms, they can put in a good word for me. Yeah, because of the networking that we have through sports. So I genuinely feel that we can get sports is a good way to meet people outside of the circle that you otherwise never have met, outside of your circle that you others wouldn't have met. And I feel that that social element is important. So people come for sports as a way to enjoy themselves, keep fit, and network. Then that's when it's quite holistic lah.
Singapore got golf lah.
Correct. Yeah.
Tennis also.
Golf and tennis.
Yeah.
But so they're saying that if a firm comes to you with a very good financial offer and everything, but they tell you, sorry, Rui Yong, you cannot you can't run anymore. Maybe maximum 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe you can run, but you can't. Other than that, you can't like compete in races and marathons all that anymore. Would that be just a blanket no for you, or you still consider?
Well, I think this would happen the earliest it would happen is next year lah.
Yeah.
So obviously have to assess financial situation, assess opportunities and everything. But I do agree that if you take one of these, life is about choices. You can't work a $500,000 paying job and have the time to go on vacation half the year. Some people figure it out, but usually it's industries like crypto that end up crashing and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know a lot of people who are earning $500,000 and taking vacation.
Suddenly we see Soh Rui Yong NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, some people do.
Yeah.
But generally, the exception rather than the rule, And yeah, hopefully, we all find something that we are happy to do in our life. If you ask me to do something that I hate doing, even $100,000 a year might not be worth it. To give up everything in your life to do something that you hate. So I think there are enough opportunities in the world that you can find something that you like doing enough and get compensated enough for it, and that's when you got a good balance in life.
But have you thought about like going back to the field of athletics, like I don't know, like law in athletics?
Sports. So if I did do sports law, it cannot be in Singapore. It has to be in the UK or somewhere that has a market for sports law.
Yeah.
I mean, in the UK, there are a lot of opportunities that you can go and be a lawyer for Manchester United. And like help draft the contracts and stuff like that. And there's so many sports companies, sports law firms that handle contracts for a lot of these like professional clubs and athletes.
Imagine the lawyers when Ronaldo did his interview.
Scrambling to do.
That weekend, the lawyers will be, oh fuck, drop everything. No, I can't go running today. Ronaldo just drops interview.
Fucking Ronaldo.
You guys are both Man U fans, must be.
I was a Ronaldo fan. I mean, I enjoyed the whole, the Return of the Prodigal Son. The story was very beautiful.
Great,
yeah.
I'm a Man U fan. I mean, I'm not like a diehard Man U fan anymore. But I was a diehard Ronaldo fan. So now I'm like, conflicted. I'm like, I love you so much. Why you go and do that?
Yeah. Actually, what do you think about what do you think of what he did?
You're a Man U fan.
Sorry?
You're a Man U fan or Ronaldo fan?
I'm a Liverpool fan, actually.
Liverpool
fan.
But
I will confess that I always had a appreciation for Ronaldo. Even when he was playing for Manchester United, there's that grudging respect. I never hated him.
Yeah.
There are Man U fans that hate Ronaldo, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I'm a Liverpool fan and I actually like watching this guy play.
They hate after what happened.
After what he did.
Maybe.
I got some friends who say, I don't know who Ronaldo is anymore. He doesn't exist to me. Tell me, But I mean...
He's done a lot more good than bad for the club.
Yeah, you can disagree with the interview, but holy shit, I remember it was a monumental thing for me seeing him as that like 17-year-old guy just dominate the world.
Yeah.
It was fucking great.
So actually, this lawyer friend of mine, Timothy, he's a Man U fan, and when Ronaldo's interview dropped, he sent it to me and he said that this is you. Basically like... It's like, this is you and
it's Singapore.
SNOC or Singapore or whatever. Then I watched it. Then I was like, oh wow, like this is a powerful interview. But I mean, obviously, the stakes are a lot higher for Ronaldo. And it was interesting because we all knew that he was unhappy there.
Yeah.
There were the signs, but he has never been one to come out and blast his establishment. I think for the most part, he's been quite a soldier, like he's not happy, he also keep it in. He's got a good PR team around him also, so I'm sure a lot of his frustrations are like filtered out before it reaches. But that was like, oh wow, he just went in front of the whole world and smashed Manchester United. Everything from, they have training facilities haven't progressed in 10 years. Like the club culture sucks.
The coach he doesn't respect.
He doesn't respect. But I mean, to that point, I think Erik ten Hag is seemingly doing a good job. Better than his win rate is better than any of the other managers.
Correct.
It's like 73% or something like that. So you can't argue with these numbers. But just like I do. I mean, like it was quite eye opening to see. Like even at the club of Manchester United level, that some of these similar politics happen.
Can happen.
Similar politics happen. And I also think that most of all, he didn't feature in Ten Hag's plans, which was why like he felt he had nothing to lose. Forced his way out.
So do you reply to him with like, yeah, I can see myself, or like, hey, no lah, don't give me the shit,
No lah, I just laughed. I watched it, then I was like, I think I ended up talking about it. I was like, oh wow, I didn't expect him to like.
Yeah, we watched it also. Then we were like, I mean, on one hand, you can kind of see his point, but the way he did it was like, and then at the World Cup, that video of him walking off, tearing up.
Yeah.
Wow, that one I was like, fuck, shit. Because I've always been Team Ronaldo over Team Messi.
Oh, is it? Why so?
I mean, because I think Messi is like gifted, he's talented, but Ronaldo, I just found it very inspiring. Like his like people can improve and then improve. He was just like improving all the way he adapted his game, the passion he shows, the way he maintains his body. Just fucking, I really respect. Whereas Messi is almost like cheat code.
Yeah.
He's just like, when he just entered a cheat code, you see the stuff he does, you're like, okay, this is impossible and only he can do it. So who's the most talented footballer? I would say him. But to me, Ronaldo, interview aside, was still the greatest.
For me, even the interview, I felt like there's a way to... I mean, he went through quite a lot personally in the 6 to 12 months prior to that.
Yeah.
And you don't know how the club handled it, right? You know,
Yeah.
like and the kind of things you're going through with his family. If it's really bad, I can understand why he felt so much grievances towards it. So we'll never know, because we'll never know what happened behind the scenes.
I would say what the takeaway is that, at the end of the day, corporations are corporations. And like individuals working for corporations, you are their worker, fair and simple. No one is family. No one is like, corporations can try and make you have the illusion of a family, but we're all expendable. And when Ronaldo felt that he was being treated, like he said, as a piece of meat, I'm like, hey, sorry, man, that's all of us. Yeah. Maybe he was treated like a superstar most of the time.
Pyramid.
But even he, at the end of the day, he's treated like, just another employee.
Yeah.
So would you have advised him to do the interview if you were, like his advisor, his legal advisor or anything?
Well, if I would say that if he wanted to force his way out, then he got what he wanted. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I don't know what the motivation was for doing that. But it made for a good show, lah.
And Piers Morgan was like lapping it up, lah.
Of course, he's an Arsenal fan, lah. For him, it's a win-win-win.
He can destroy Man U also.
His content views went way up.
Yeah.
He gets to have a whole day with milking Ronaldo's content.
Yeah.
He gets to fuck Man U.
Yeah.
And then.
It was just painful to watch, lah.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the World Cup, Messi won the World Cup, so can't deny that. But yeah, interesting.
Right, it's actually a similar thing happened with Fernando Torres at Liverpool. Just that Torres never did such an interview, but like Torres fell out with Liverpool, and that's why he left and went to Chelsea. But
actually, these falling outs, they happen quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it's just because it's Ronaldo.
Because it's Ronaldo, exactly.
Yeah.
Most followed guy on Instagram, right? Was he?
Still is.
Yeah.
500 million plus.
Yeah, so for him to do that, it's just kind of
crazy,
breaks the internet.
Yeah.
But like, looking back at like the past few years as you gear up to this competition and all, like I know you said that you're a different runner now, your body's different. But anything else about you that has changed, like mentally, psychologically, and all?
Yes, I think definitely developed over the years. I would say that, in 2015, 2017, obviously a lot more inexperience. In 2015, when I competed at the SEA Games, it was only my second ever marathon. Now I run like 11 marathons, so it's like I kind of know what's going to happen, what to expect, how best to prepare. But I also lost a bit of that excitement. Now when I toe a start line, right, I don't feel the butterflies in my stomach. I don't feel the. In some ways, it's good because last time I used to be so nervous, right? I feel like I'm going to throw up. Because once the race starts, it's okay.
Yeah.
But I do feel that having those nerves, having that adrenaline, drives you to achieve performances that you cannot achieve with on a normal state of mind. Normal state of mind. And now I struggle to bring myself to that level that I can have that level of adrenaline that can help me push myself to performances that I've never seen before. Yeah. It's a lot rarer now.
So then what gives you butterflies in the stomach these days? Like
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question, man. It's been a while. I should say my girlfriend, lah.
Wow, that's so sweet, lah. You gotta send her this clip, right? You gotta send her this clip.
Yeah, but I mean,
so someone, you've been dating someone for quite a while now? Or? I remember
It'll be 1 year in June.
it was just before you
1 year.
left for London and everything, right? Where
Oh no, actually I met her in London. She was there.
you met her in London.
Yeah, she was there on holiday.
Oh.
Yeah. So my girlfriend's Thai, but she goes to Shanghai University, but she was visiting London on holiday, and that's when I met her.
Oh wow,
Like running?
amazing.
No, she doesn't. Okay, all the girls I've dated and including her have not been runners.
Yeah, I see.
I just went up to her and said hi lah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was leaving a nightclub.
I see.
Yeah.
And then the rest
The lights came on, and I was like, yeah, I never see that girl the whole night. Like quite pretty. So I went up and I said hello.
No butterflies in the stomach when you do that. Like
But it pushed him to performance.
Alcohol in the
Want to
stomach.
vomit.
All the butterflies drown already because a lot of alcohol in the stomach.
Maybe that's why you
That
need a
point.
shot before every race. Right? Then you get the butterflies in the stomach.
So then you met at a club. Then after that, because she was on holiday, how long was she there on holiday?
So when I met her, she only had like 3 weeks left in London.
Oh.
Yeah. So we met a few times, and then eventually, we didn't start dating or anything. She went back to Thailand, keep in touch, and then when the summer came about, she was like, "Yeah, are you seeing any? I just want to ask, are you seeing anyone?" I'm like, "No." She goes, "I'm thinking of visiting you. So if you're seeing anyone, let me know. Don't waste my time." I'm like, "No,
Wow.
I really don't have." Then she came over.
Oh, so then when she came over, then it became official. Lah.
Like she came over, then a few weeks later, then became official.
So now she still gives you butterflies in the stomach. That's great, man.
Yeah.
So it's a long distance, is it?
Yeah, long distance.
So that means when
Wow.
you're going at the airport picking up, it's a lot of butterflies, is it?
Yeah, still. I mean, like,
Oh.
it's nice to. I mean, I think that long distance has that appeal to it. Like, of course, there are challenges, but for me, I think I deal with long distance very well because when my partner is not around, I just focus on my own stuff. Like, I have to train, I have to sleep, I have to study.
And you've, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that you deal with long distance very well, literally, right? So isn't that so poetic?
Every form of long distance,
Yeah.
running, relationships.
But sometimes she was like, "Hey, do you miss me? You never messaged me a lot today, like, do you love me or not?" Then I'm like, I do. It's just that, I've been busy. Then when you're not around, I tend to do my own stuff. But I think this normal, for most most guys and girls, yeah.
relationships.
Wow.
Ah. So glad to know that's going great. Like you still get butterflies and all. But is it something that has changed your approach to running as well?
Yes, so grew a bit wiser in terms of training over the years. Like last time, a bit of trial and error. I'll read what the best in the world do for training. I was like, okay, if they run 200k a week or 160k a week, I need to minimum try and push myself run 160k a week. Then like I would achieve good levels of fitness, but I'll often get injured from like just overloading the body because these professionals, they eat, sleep, and train. And like, for me, I always had school or other stuff, and just body. Sometimes it's your body type also. Some people can take more punishment than others. But over the years, especially like that's why I said, the last 5 years when I wasn't representing Singapore gave me a chance to calibrate my training, train less, figure out what works. So like my 2 SEA Games, right? The first SEA Games went quite well. I only had like 1 injury in the build up, but the second SEA Games was quite rocky lah. I had like a problem with my heel, I had a problem with my hamstring, so like here and there. Eventually, I made it to the start line with my heel like quite heavily taped up. Managed to win. After that, I felt like there was a knife in my heel, like for the rest of the week. Yeah, and then so I had plantar fasciitis in the build up to my second SEA Games and when I was running the SEA Games as well.
Okay.
So I wasn't, I would say I was a fit athlete, but I had all these underlying like injuries that meant that I wasn't very healthy also. And it does cause a lot of like frustration because when you like it. Let's say last time I was training like I was last time. When I stand up and I walk, right, my heel will be like, I feel like there's a problem with like a knife in my heel when I'm limping out the door.
Yeah.
So it does affect your welfare as well.
So now going into this race, you're 31. Like, is that like how does that compare with the ages of the other runners in your events?
I definitely will be one of the older ones, but there will be runners who are older than myself. I mean, the guy who won the 5 and 10K in the last SEA Games, I think he was like 33 or 34 years old when he won.
So is he still running?
He's Vietnamese and I haven't really followed. Basically, right, I haven't had time to research anyone. I just been focusing on my own shit because like I just got confirmed a week ago. And at this point of time, it's like I'm just going to focus on my own stuff and get in the best shape I can because no point looking at other people if I'm not in shape.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Because my question was actually going to be like, as a competitive runner, is it always like you study your competitors beforehand.
You
and keep
you should, but your priority is always yourself. Like if you're in shape, then you can start thinking about tactics. But for me, at this point of time, I'm just trying to get in shape, and then when I get there, look at who's running, and then maybe think a bit about tactics. Yeah.
Also, it is a very tactical thing also at that level.
Yeah. Because I mean, 3 medals, right? So it's like, you know, pitting your strengths and weaknesses against theirs. Yeah, because some people, long distance is like, for example, let's say a 5,000 meters. Most of us can run below 15 minutes for 5,000 meters. But if you control the race and, you know, you run slowly and you make everyone follow you and you run 16 minutes, then it becomes less of who has the best fitness, but who has the best like last lap finishing kick.
But how can you control? What do you mean when you say control?
You go to the front, so you can go to the front of the race and then you run a slower pace. You make it such that if they want to overtake you, they have to move on your outside, and then you can kind of block them off. It's like F1, you know. Like F1.
You never watch Physical 100, man? Physical 100, like everything. Do you ever see the Netflix show Physical 100?
I have not watched it. I heard a lot about it.
Man.
Yeah.
It's good,
Everyone I've met since I've been back has asked me this question.
I feel like you'd be the perfect person to compete in Physical 100.
It's quite but I from what I understand, the body types are quite like
yes, but
bulky, right?
They do have competitions that do favor stamina and everything. So it'll be interesting to see how, you know, a long distance athlete performs.
Terence learns a lot about life from Netflix. So Physical 100 teaches him about athletics. Arranged marriage teaches him what?
Indian matchmaking.
Indian matchmaking teaches him about Indian culture.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's his primary source of education.
The Ronaldo's wife's girlfriends
about
show.
the Gia. Or something.
I learned about sports also true.
That was a fucking boring show, sure. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's why I thought it'd be, you know, someone like you would be a great candidate for a show like that.
You know, when I'm retired, I put on some muscle mass and then I put my name up. But must speak Korean, right?
Yeah.
Must speak Korean. Must speak Korean.
Yeah. Maybe there'll be an English version or something.
So now how many weeks do you have left?
So now in the middle of the second week, I know I have 6 weeks to prepare, and I finished my first week last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when are you flying off to Cambodia?
The 6th of May.
6th of May.
Yeah.
And you'll be flying from the UK?
No, I'm flying from here.
Oh, flying from here.
Yeah.
Because you have an exam 4th of May from here.
Yeah, from I finish on the 4th of May from here. Yeah.
Wow, this is like this is a good example for all Singaporean parents.
Yeah,
you know, like
finish exam,
then still go and compete SEA Games. So yeah, this is the blueprint for what a real Singaporean achiever should be like.
It's a good point because, you know, in Singapore, right? And I think I really disagree with this MOE policy, but MOE makes a lot of school CCAs, like stand down CCAs, like 3 months out from PSLE or big exams. But that's not the real world, you know. Like, you know, you have a wife, you have a family. Are you going to stand down your family if, like, you have to prepare for a project at work for, like, 3 months?
Don't tempt Harish. Don't tempt Harish. She's thinking of it. No, but yeah, sorry. Yeah.
You can't. So, like, for example, then, like, now I have to go for SEA Games and I'm studying law. I mean, and your secondary school exams are not going to be harder than this. And then they are then you don't let them even train.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they're going to put in their extra 6 hours a week into studying. In fact, they might be bouncing off the walls because these kids are nowhere else to expend their energy.
That's true.
And if anything, it's not teaching people about time management and balance. So, like, my coach, Stephen Quack, has always, like, he always held unofficial training sessions for us. And it's optional. I cannot say it's compulsory because your school doesn't allow me to say it's compulsory, but it's optional. But you also know that if you really optional, then you don't go, you're not on the team next year.
But that's true. I remember in school when playing hockey, during hockey season start of the year, all the tests you heck care on. Because you know when the actual test matters, you're not going to have hockey. Yeah. So all our results will be shit and then we pick it up. So, but I mean, so it means it's going to be quite intense for you from now till then.
Yeah.
And will you be sharing like your journey on Facebook or anything? Or if people want to keep up to date with like your racing and all?
I'm trying to do end of the week update. So, like, you know, because I think that there's a good amount of excitement because I haven't gone to SEA Games in 5 years, right? So at the end of at the end of last week, I shared, okay, this is, I mean, like, I'll be logging my weekly training log. So this is what I did this week. Then Monday, this, Tuesday, that, all the way to Sunday. Total mileage for the week, like 118 kilometers. And it seems like people like that kind of content. So I will do again at the end of the second week. Yeah, but
So the best place to follow you would be Facebook or Instagram or
both Facebook, Instagram. I mean, like, you both would know that the content that does well on Facebook is different from the content that does well on Instagram. Yeah. Facebook, I think the written captions can be powerful enough, but Instagram, like, you really need a photo to carry the story.
And then now you're on LinkedIn also, like you're LinkedIn bro already.
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn as well. I'm not gonna post running stuff. Generally, don't post running stuff on LinkedIn. Yeah.
I see.
Actually, can I just say that everything, there's been so much negative news about everything, the economy, politics, war, even our, other athletes, Singapore athletes also got issues and all this thing. So your story of you coming back, reconciling with whatever organizations and all, and now being back in your prime to represent Singapore again, it's one shining light in this sea of negativity. So I want to say it's an amazing thing. I had it as a one Shiok thing, right? I think when it was announced.
Yeah.
Correct. I think we're very happy, and we're all. I think Singapore will really get behind you, because I think you've also shown that you're someone who also reflects and you think very hard about where you want to be and everything. So it's a very good story for a lot of people to follow. And we're all rooting for you for this season.
Yeah, man.
Thanks,
Fuck
man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Thanks,
really,
Darren.
really.
And the race will be televised also, right?
It'll be televised, you'll be on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's a bit different from my RC games, because like last time the marathon, you can't really follow the race because it's like in the roads. I was like, they don't have a live telecast, but now on the track, both my races will be fully televised.
Oh, that'd be fucking
awesome.
great. Yeah. Really, really fucking happy that when we saw the news, we're like, oh yes. And then when you told me you were in Singapore, even more. Yeah. That's great, man.
Yeah. So it'll be a good reintroduction. I mean, I'm not expecting too much because of just the circumstances, but I do want to use this as a chance to get excited again, represent Singapore again, and get into the groove. But realistically speaking, I would say 2 years' time, that will be my real chance to come back with a gold medal from the Bangkok SEA Games. Yeah, this one will be try my best. Like any color medal will be good, but even if I don't get anything, it'll be just a good experience to be back.
Awesome.
That's just the circumstances.
Okay, cool, awesome. And I know our listeners also will have your back.
Thank you.
I mean, same thing on Reddit. And now you're not eating any crackers, so there won't be anyone saying that you're
this guy is rude. Boy, there's no respect for the podcast.
but yeah, so I mean, now shall we move on to and end off with our one Shiok thing?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you like to go first, Terence?
As always, in line with what I always do, I'm watching a lot of TV. There's a season 4 of the show You, which is coincidentally takes place now in London. It's a story of a serial killer who is expert at stalking women.
Oh, my girlfriend loves that.
Yes, you. Yeah. So there's been 3 seasons already. It was in New York, then I think California, and now he has run to London, and that's where he's doing his thing, and they make it in the style of a British whodunit kind of mystery. So it's quite interesting take on that genre.
I think the previous seasons also have been your one Shiok thing before.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. And the lead actor, Penn Badgley, looks like a young Jose Mourinho. But there's all these jokes about it. And so it's a good watch and a very British whodunit style.
I see. Okay, my one Shiok thing is the last weekend I watched John Wick 4.
There we go.
Yeah. And I mean, I prepared because a few weeks ago I watched John Wick 3 on Netflix just to get up to speed. And John Wick 4 was amazing. It's just one of those shows that you turn off your brain and you accept it for what it is, because it's a beautiful film, beautifully shot. The action and choreography is so awesome, and you can't not love Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And I think it's 2 hours 40 minutes, and it just went by. It was really amazing, and I think, and you're a fan of John Wick also, right?
I'm a fan of John Wick, and I'm a fan of Donnie Yen, and to see Keanu Reeves, Donnie Yen, and Lawrence Fishburne in the same movie, you never thought you'd see the day.
Yeah, it's insane, and I mean the sad thing also was one of the characters also passed on in real life recently. The hotel.
Yes.
So
the concierge.
Yeah, the concierge. So it just feels like, wow, there's so much. Like almost this film is almost like a labor of love. Even the director was Keanu Reeves' stunt double in The Matrix. Yeah, so the whole John Wick thing was kind of something they worked on together.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why Lawrence Fishburne is also there. Morpheus and Neo.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just loved it. I know Tristen loved it as well. He called it the chef's kiss.
Okay,
chef's kiss.
very good.
So you should watch it. You should watch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. And what about you, man?
My one Shiok Thing is she's a terrorist and I love her, man.
Hey, we didn't ask you to say that.
No,
Yeah, we
they
you to
didn't
say
ask
that.
me, but ever since 1.5 years ago, I walked in here. I remember I saw that poster on the wall and I asked, what the hell is that? Like, I've never seen it. And then you told me the whole story about how, you guys you funded to do it. And then you guys had to employ all your actors and actresses to work for you. And then eventually everything fell through. But I think very, very, lots of respect to the two of you because you guys held up your end of the deal. You guys paid your staff. And then you guys went out of pocket to pay that, and you guys like actually went into debt doing it. So it was a very, very respectable move for me, that's a lot of moral courage and to put yourself in that position. So when you guys finally published it, I thought it was very cathartic. I watched the first 2 episodes with my mom. My mom loves Harash's acting. She's like, oh, this guy has very interesting eyes, and then my mom recognizes Noah from Our Boys to Men. She was like, oh, this clown again. But yeah, I mean, it's quite refreshing because you don't see. I mean, you don't expect this kind of thing on Channel 5, no way. Channel 5 is all like primary school skit, and then converted into, but so very politically correct, very safe, and quite cookie cutter at least the Channel 5 stuff I've seen. But this one, there's everything. There's humor. There's making fun of. In the second episode when you were making fun of meritocracy, Han Yong and being a scholar in the marriage registry. I thought the girls acted really well. I've met Muna before at the A6 event. I haven't met the other girl, but she looks like my
Ketania.
Yeah, I haven't met her, but she kind of looks like a bad girl version of my friend Samantha.
Oh, is it?
Samantha plays Dota with me, so
I see.
So but I was like, hey, this doesn't look like Samantha. I cannot unsee it. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I made it to episode 3. My mom's only made it to episode 2, but I look forward to watching the rest of it. I was actually really looking out for Terrence, hoping he'll make a cameo, but it doesn't sound like he's in it.
So he's directing it.
Behind the camera.
Behind the camera.
Okay. So
your girlfriend gonna watch it also? You're gonna.
Well, I would love for her to watch it, but I do think there's a lot of local references.
That's true. That's true.
So it could be a bit challenging to follow. But I like that there's no censorship, there's vulgarities, and it's so relatable because that's how Singaporeans talk.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly how Singaporeans talk. Not like how people like our local media productions. That's not how Singaporeans talk.
Exactly.
Yeah, Singaporeans are quite vulgar,
Yeah, that's why. And part of the beauty of the Singlish language is that kind of like dialect and the swear words and stuff like that.
Yes.
So we're super happy we got to make it the way we wanted to, and now it's out there in the world.
Yeah. So I mean, it's fantastic. My girlfriend will actually my girlfriend, I should stop saying that. Natasha will actually like this because she's learned a few Singaporean swear words and she thinks it's hilarious. She really thinks it's hilarious.
Awesome.
Yeah. So okay, when she's here, I think she wants to visit after SEA Games. So
okay.
I would love for her to meet you guys at some point.
So SEA Games will be coming back to Singapore.
Yes, I'll come back.
Oh shit!
I'll be back 13th of May. Then maybe we can meet for a chat again. Then
that'll
be fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay,
So I mean, wish you all the best, dude.
Yes.
And whatever comes out of it, we're all super happy for you.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can see you when you're back.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, man.
See you.
And thanks for listening, everybody.
Okay. Goodbye.